Hi guys. I'm making this particular video to give you an introduction on going through the syllabus instead of you having to read it on your own, which is really boring anyways, and also to show you kind of how to navigate this course in eLearn and how I'm going to set everything up. So if you're watching this video, then you probably have already clicked through the welcome dual enrollment. Here's my email. And you probably have just had the syllabus pop up. And so this is me going through it a little bit more in depth with that. So I'm going to share my screen and let's take a look at, and this camera angle is so close. It's so nice, isn't it? So this is what our pharmacy calculation syllabus looks like. You guys know syllabus are really thrilling and exciting, and that was sarcasm right there. So this just basically is the course description. Important part here, my email, my phone number. This semester, I am in the classroom a whole lot. So if you call me, it may take me a little bit to get back to you. Email, I'll always have access to email, so that's the quickest way. But if you do call me, just give me a little bit to get back. This is basically the course description here of what it's going to cover. This course starts out really basic, which is good for some people. Some people will be super bored. You guys seem very smart, so you're going to do great. But it's good because some of these concepts that people may have forgotten are really foundational for pharmacy calculations. So it starts out basic, it builds on it, and you'll see that by the time we start getting into chapter 2, we start throwing in pharmacy specific calculations. By the time we are in chapter 3, we're learning abbreviations and how they apply to pharmacy math. And then in chapter 4, really on, is going to be those pharmacy specific calculations. So that's just kind of giving you an overview of the things that we'll talk about. We will hit all of those within the chapters. You don't have to worry about prerequisites. Your textbook is this textbook here. It's white and green. It is the 7th edition, and we will wear this bad boy out. A calculator, all you need is basically a 4-functioning calculator. You don't have to have anything fancy for this course. You don't have to go out and buy any fancy Texas Instrument calculator, just regular 4-functioning. These PSLOs and CSLOs are required. You don't really probably care about them, but the college does, and they have to see that I'm teaching these certain things that actually have meaning. So that's what those are. This is learning indicators and required assessments. Again, this is more like policies of things I have to put in here. If you just love reading, you can read through these more in depth, but it's basically saying, here's what we're going to cover. Here's how I'm going to know that you know these things. And then it breaks down into these different assessments and the description for those. Again, if you want to learn more about it, you can. But what you're probably really wanting to know about here is this grade distribution. So this is how your grade is made up. Each chapter has its own problem set. So like 1.1 has a problem set for you to turn in. Now, all of your homework is turned in through eLearn. If you are watching this, you already know kind of what eLearn is. The thing with eLearn is when you go to turn in your homework, it's going to be labeled as a quiz in eLearn because that's the only way that it lets me put in these multiple choice type things or these short answer type questions. So when you go to do your homework and you see quizzes, don't freak out. It's just the way that it's labeled. You'll see in there when you go to turn in your homework, you have multiple attempts. So you can, if you don't get the grade you want, you can try again and turn it in. And you have like up to 2 hours to turn it in, which really the time limit is technically unlimited on there. So don't feel like once you sit down, you got to do it right then, and you can save your progress, come back later. It's not as scary as what the quiz looks like it says it is. It's not, but turning in your homework is so important. And because, I'm normally teaching college students, so we're very busy. We have work, we have families, we have all these things happening. So I understand that you may not go home that day and turn in your homework. And that's okay, but you should not be turning your homework in weeks and weeks late. So turning that in, and you'll see the deadline here in a minute on the syllabus of what, after I cover a topic, how late do you have to turn it in? Making sure you turn in that homework is going to be really important. And that's 40% of your grade. So the homework for the problem sets is 40%, so it's almost half. So if you like literally just do your homework, you get 40% of your grade there. It's nice. There are 3 tests throughout this course. Each test covers 3 chapters. So your first test is chapter 1, 2, and 3. The second test is 4, 5, and 6. The third test is 7, 9, and a little bit of 8, and we'll kind of see why chapter 8 is just kind of hit the highlights for that one. And then, excuse me, once you finish, you have a final exam, and that final exam is worth 20% of your grade. So if you have done well on these tests, you will do well on this test. So it's kind of an easy shoe in to that. So Chattanooga State requires our students to follow kind of a work ethic type guideline of you got to do what you're supposed to do, be here when you're supposed to be here, and don't do anything illegal. So that's kind of what this grading scale and policy section starts talking about here. So you got to be here. Punctuality and attendance is mandatory. You guys are virtual asynchronous, which means you're not watching this as I'm teaching it. You're watching it on your own pace, so we don't have to worry about technically tardies. Now, you do have to watch, and you do have to turn in your homework according to these timelines that I have uploaded into Elearn, but you are practicing a little bit of responsibility on your own. My students that don't show up to class risk having their grade lowered by 10 points if they just keep not showing up. So that really doesn't apply to a lot of you, but if you just ghost throughout the class, then you're probably going to fail. So don't do that. This is important. Again, tardies don't really apply to you guys, but we have to put them in our syllabi. If a student is going to miss or they are having attendance issues, you'll need to email me through my official Chat State email and say, hey, this is what's going on, and let me know, and we'll figure it out. But again, you guys are already have kind of a check system in place at your school, so I'm not worried about absences or things. Work ethic. We basically look at our students in 4 different areas: professionalism, integrity, productivity, and teamwork. This is helping grow your professionalism. And since we are training our students to be certified pharmacy technicians, it's really important that we cover these things and talk about these things with students. And so helping grow your professional ethics is great. In the classroom, we have to cover cell phone usage. So we like you to be present. If you're on your phone the whole time, you're probably not listening to me. So I want you to listen to me. Even though you're not technically in class with me, I would like to apply this to you guys. Try to make sure you're free from all distractions, you're paying attention. You guys have the ability to pause the recording and come back to it or rewatch it. So that's really helpful for you guys. The uniform doesn't apply to you guys because you're high school students, and you don't have to wear the royal blue scrubs and lab coats, but that's what my students wear normally. We want to limit classroom disruptions. So someone that is constantly disrupting class will have to adhere to this policy. Again, you guys asynchronous on your own. You don't have to worry about it. So here's some more kind of specific courses, policies, and these probably will all apply to you guys. So homework assignments. The homework assignments, again, labeled as quizzes. They're going to be really important for you to do. They're labeled in Elearn, you'll see here, as problem sets, and each chapter will have one. If we happen to skip a problem set, I will tell you that. And just for example, 1.5, that's one that we're going to skip. You won't see it in there. So if it's not in Elearn, that means we're skipping it. For my students, after I teach a topic, they have a week, which for you guys are probably like, a week, that's a long time. For them, they're like, oh my gosh, but they have a week to turn that in. So if it's not in a week, that problem set will close and they get a 0 for it. Now for you guys, I will have a timeline that I've posted, and it may pop up after this video. I'll kind of decide which way I want to do it, but I have a timeline of by this date, you should be at least at this problem set. By this date, you should be at least this problem set. Because I'm going to schedule your test, and they're usually going to happen about like at the end of each month. So for you guys, I think pacing is there's like a test at the end of September, there's a test at the end of October, and then there's a test at the end of November. So you want to make sure that if you're getting ready to take test 1, you've covered all those chapters already and turned in that homework. You don't want to be taking test 3 and still turning in chapter 2, because that's just not feasible. So when you do your homework, what's loaded into eLearn is the direct problem sets from this textbook. So the way that I recommend doing it, excuse me, the way that I recommend doing it is work out that problem set with your textbook and a piece of paper first. Make sure that you have all those answers correct and go through there. And then once you have finished that problem set, then go into eLearn and then turn it in online. That way it helps your brain be able to see, work out those problems, and then inputting them. And when you input a problem set into eLearn, you're going to want to make sure that you're paying attention to what number that you're on. Make sure that question matches what answer you're putting in, because some of these, when they get typed into eLearn, I can't, they're like multiple choice or they're multiple part questions, and the way they have to be input, the numbering may be off. So while it may be number 7 in the textbook, it may actually end up being, number 8 in the online. So slowly pay attention to what answers that you're entering into your homework. So a week after, basically, you watch that video, you need to turn it in. Now, the way that my normal classroom lectures happen is we go over these questions, these problem sets, and students are asking me questions and we're having conversations. So our lectures are like 50-minute lectures. These videos, if you take out chit chat and you take out questions, these videos tend to be rather short, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And that's good for you because that means you have time to turn in your homework after you finish it. So I don't see this being an issue, but make sure you're turning in homework as you are watching those problem sets online. Quizzes, we don't really have a lot of quizzes in calculations. I know that they are listed. That's if I start seeing people slack off and I say, you guys are not paying attention, we need to have a quiz. We'll have a quiz Friday. With you guys, I don't have any embedded, but I do have the policy in here in case I need it. This is saying, again, that you need to participate in class, you need to try hard in class, and be doing all the required activities. This, again, is excused absence policy, which goes into if you start getting your grade lowered for not attending class, then you got to at least have a C to progress. So you want to make sure that you're at least getting a C. I think you guys are going to do even better than that. I am really proud of how my students do in this course, so I think you guys are going to do well. If I offer extra credit cannot be used to raise your grade to passing. You have to pass on your own. So if you're not passing on your own, you can do all the extra credit if I offer it throughout the program, but it's not going to help you. So at least pass. Extra credit is to enhance a good grade. And so that's what we are shooting for. Students can elect to be exempt from final exams if their grade average, is a 90 or higher and they have no test grade below an 85. So you have the ability to not have to take a final exam if you don't have a test grade below an 85, you've turned in all your homework, and your final grade average before you have to take that exam is a 90 or higher. We will exempt you from having to take that final exam. Grades can't be rounded, so if you have an 89.8, we're not going to round it. You got to get to that 90 on your own. And If you do what you're supposed to do, this is really not that hard. I usually have a lot of students that are exempt from having to take their final exam. This is just really a way to reward hard work. If you're paying attention, you're working hard throughout the program, then you're gonna do well in the final exam anyway. So this is something to work towards and something to motivate you guys. If you happen to miss a scheduled test, it has to be made up in a timely manner. And we will, extenuating circumstances, we understand life happens and things like that. So we'll look at each case, but if you're supposed to take a test on a certain day, you want to make sure that you take it that day, or we schedule a time quickly to get that made up. What will happen after you click on the syllabus is the college policy and statements LibGuide will pop up, and that is what this looks like. This takes you over to all the specific policies that Chattanooga State has. There's a lot of different resources that are available to our students. And so this really goes into that. I would encourage you to take time to read it. Some of it is repetitive from what our syllabus statements are, but it has a lot of good information on that. So that is our syllabi and college policy statements. Let's look at what your Elearn, once you get loaded into here, kind of looks like. So what's going to happen is when you first log on to this, there's going to be a pop-up here that you have already went through. So I'm going to just close that one out. And this is very similar to what your page looks like. Mine has probably some more things where I can edit stuff, but it should be similar. What you really want to see here is this course content heading. When you click on course content, it's going to pop up your navigation throughout this course. So down the left side here, you'll see each chapter listed, and each chapter, when you click on it, is going to have those resources that you need to complete it. So for example, if you're getting ready to work on chapter 1, the first thing that you'll see is chapter 1 recording. So you would click on chapter 1 recording and you would get to watch me teach you and walk you through chapter 1. And I give you, you can see in the classroom, I'm sharing the smartboard, I'm writing things, I'm doing jokes. Don't forget to laugh at my jokes. Once you finish watching that recording, then you'll see back in chapter 1 underneath it, there'll be chapter 1 problem set. So this is one, when I click on it, my screen's going to be a little bit different than yours. Yours will actually look more like this. And again, it's going to say start quiz, but it's going to say no time limit and unlimited attempts. You'll start your quiz, but again, don't freak out. And then it'll have each of those questions that's listed in your textbook for you to answer, and you'll turn it in. When you turn it in and you get a terrible grade, remember, it's going to tell you, hey, you have this many unsubmitted questions. If you get a terrible grade, remember, I will go back in, I'll update it. If you put extra spacing or any kind of extra in there or not enough, it will count it wrong. I will go back through, I will update grades, and you will see them. So it'll have the recording you watch, and then the problem set you turn in. And then for 1.2, the recording you watch. And then what I've added for 1.2 is because some people have forgotten fractions. By some people, I mean, I'm terrible at fractions. And so I like decimals. Decimals is my jam. And so I put some extra resources in here for if you need to remember how to add fractions and go through that. And then the problem set, and then 1.3 recording and 1.3 problem set, and so on and so forth. Again, we don't do 1.5, just 1.4. So that's how each chapter is set up, with a recording and then a problem set, and a recording and a problem set, and any extra resources I've thrown in there. Also, before you take a test, you can take a practice test. The practice test is eerily similar to the main test, and that is because if you know how to work out certain problems, then you can do it in the real test. So it's not the same problems, but it's the same concepts, if that makes sense. So you can do this practice test when you're getting ready as many times as you want. It's not required. but it does help you prepare for that exam. And when it's time for your exam, I think I will work with your contact at your school, and we'll have it set up where you can come in and take this test online and turn it in, and it will work out well. So again, 4, 5, and 6 is test 2, 7, 8, 9, test 3. And then hopefully you'll be exempt from your final exam, and we will have A's, right? That's the goal. So one thing too that I need to show you, I didn't, is I can't fully pull it up because it does have other information on it, but there's a couple other different things on Elearn, a calendar that will show you deadlines here. We don't have discussion posts in calculations class. A lot of college online classes will have you reply to certain discussions and create discussions. We don't have to do that in calculations because we're math focused. If there's any quizzes, they'll be posted in here. If you have to turn anything in, you'll turn it in through Dropbox, but there's not, because it's all done through your each individual problem set. So you don't really have to worry about any of these here. When you want to see your grades, you'll click on the grades tab. Again, I can't click on that right now because it'll pop up names, and I am not trying to go to FERPA jail. So it'll pop up your grades. You can see your grades listed underneath there. You'll be able to see what you got correct and all those wonderful things. So these tabs at the top will really navigate you through the course itself. If you need to send me an email, you can send me an email here through Elearn. You can also just type it in through your personal email and send it to my jody.sieber@chattanoogastate.edu. That's listed throughout this course. If you have any like updates of problem sets, it'll pop up here. Hey, this has been graded. This has been turned in. This little waffle icon here is if you're taking more than one course at Chattanooga State, it will pop up here. I have lots because I have been here for a long time, so I've taught a lot of courses. But that's really the kind of breakdown of our calculations. If you want this to stop popping up every time you go on, you can hit dismiss and it will go away. But I like to see mine because I edit it a lot before I publish the whole course. So that is really the introduction to the course and kind of navigating Elearn. So I think the next thing that I may put in here is your kind of breakdown of where you should be by this date and giving you an idea of test times of when to do things. I am a resource to you. I am here for you. So if you have any questions, please reach out. I love to hear from you guys and see how you're doing in the course. You'll probably get emails from me just checking in and making sure that you guys are doing well. But I'm so excited for this, and you guys are going to do great. So thank you for listening to me ramble. Goodbye.